and we'll move through the items on the agenda. And colleagues, I know that you've seen the agenda and you may have spoken with district staff, so any questions, though, that you might have, please stop me and we'll just take care of those at that time. So we'll go ahead and start. At this time, I have no changes to the agenda, and so moving to section 3, we have some recognitions. First of all, 3.1, Children in Crisis Change for Children campaign presented by Ms. Kitty Johnson. And then 3.2, recognition of Longwood Elementary School academic team. 2023 nationwide 5th grade Spring American Answers champions. And that will also be presented by the superintendent. All right, in section 4, administrative personnel appointments. 4.1, appointment of the assistant principal, 10-month at Antioch Elementary. 4.2, appointment of assistant principal, 10-month at Wright Elementary. And then 4.3, appointment of principal, Eglin Elementary School. All of these recommended by the superintendent for approval. Section 5.1, public comment. Section 6, committee and staff reports, workshop only. 6.1, in-county travel paid for April 2023, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer. And then 6.2, out-of-county travel paid for April 2023, also presented by Ms. Perry. Then 6.3, Northwest Florida State College, Collegiate High School, a charter school, and restricted fund of Northwest Florida State College financial statements and supplemental information for the year ended June 30, 2022, also presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. 7.1 will be approval. 7.2 will be the approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearings of May 8th, 2023, and minutes of the workshop meeting May 8th, 2023, and minutes of the regular meeting of May 8th, 2023, recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.3, appropriation of District 3 School Board member capital outlay funds to Antioch Elementary School for Clear Touch panels in the amount of $5,000, presented by Ms. Linda Vanchek and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.4, appropriation of District 4 School Board member capital outlay funds to Antioch Elementary School for Clear Touch panels in the amount of $5,584.79, presented by Mr. Tim Bryant and recommended by the superintendent.
Dr. White,
yes,
can
sir.
I make a
yes, sir.
comment? Again, thanks to my colleague, Linda Vanchek there for helping with this. It's going to be an awesome thing for the school. So.
Right, and it's very good that Ms. Sanders talking about how this teacher is going to be teaching the others from this, so it's a great investment. Glad to help.
Yep. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, 7.5, request to advertise a public hearing for social studies textbook instructional materials adoption, presented by Mr. Ryan Gore, Program Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.6, budget amendment number 8, fiscal year 2023, presented by Ms. Julie Perry, Chief Financial Officer, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. 7.7, monthly financial statement for April 23, presented by Ms. Julie Perry, Chief Financial Officer, and recommended by the superintendent. 7.8, invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer, and also recommended by the superintendent.
I do have a question for
Yes,
clarification on that.
Sure.
Ms. Perry, it's said in the statement of this board bill that typically Andrews Institute does the CPR training. Do you have any clarification on why another provider was used in this particular case, or does it matter?
This was just something that the individual coaches, that he just must not have gotten the message that Andrews Institute could do it. But we have said that they have to be CPR trained, and if they get CPR trained, we'll reimburse their expenditure.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Just
No.
typically we have one, but as
Yeah,
long as it's
yeah.
somebody who's certified, it's no problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vancheck and Ms. Perry. All right, moving on to 7.9, payroll warrant register and accounts payable warrant register totaling $36,989,630.35 to self-health insurance claims and fees totaling $2,490,981.96, and bank transfers totaling $0 for April 2023, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer. 7.10, renewal of check recovery agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County and SafeCheck Incorporated for NSF check recovery services, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.11, authorization to appropriate federal impact aid funds and make a payment in the amount, when I saw this, I thought it was a misprint, $165.50 to charter schools, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.12, authorization to approve federal impact aid funds and make a payment in the amount of $18,631.50 to charter schools, presented by Ms. Perry. 7.13, revised fiscal year 2022, 2023, and 2023-2024 child care fees, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer. 7.14, RFQ 23-49, Orton Gillingham Teacher Training, presented by Mr. Vince Wyndham, Program Director, Purchasing, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.15, ITB 23-04, Painting Bid District-Wide, presented by Mr. Wyndham, Purchasing, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.16, ITB 23-06, Lawn Care Services for multiple schools, presented by Mr. Wyndham and recommended by the Superintendent.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Now, are we renewing the contract? Is that what I read here? Or is this the same people that are doing it now? Sir? Okay, all right.
Did you say new vendor, Mr. Wyndham? All right, new
All right,
vendor.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bryan. All right, 17.17, renewal of contract RFP 20-01, School Food Service Management Operations, presented by Mr. Wyndham, Program Director, Purchasing, also recommended by the Superintendent. 7.18, RFQ 23-01, Construction Cost Engineering Consulting Services, presented by Mr. Wyndham, Program Director, Purchasing. 7.19, tag-on bid purchase over $50,000, strategic equipment, presented by Mr. Wyndham, Program Director. 7.20, renewal of tag-on bid annual agreement for professional environmental consulting services, presented by Mr. Wyndham, Program Director, Purchasing, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Hello. 7.21, Summer 2023 Agreement with the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Emerald Coast Incorporated, presented by Mr. Wyndham, the Program Director, Purchasing, and recommended by the Superintendent. All right, Ms. Mary, that item on my, it's okay, I'll just go through, there it goes. All right. I don't know if any of the others are experiencing any holdup on your computer. All right, 7.22, renewal of memorandum of understanding between the School Board of Okaloosa County and the I Love You Guys Foundation, presented by Mr. Danny Dean, Program Director, Safety, and recommended by the Superintendent. 7.23, 2023-2024 Career Dual Enrollment Articulation Agreement between Okaloosa Technical College and the public high schools of the School District of Okaloosa County, Florida, presented by Mr. John Williams, Director, Okaloosa Technical College, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval.
And Dr. White, I
Yes, ma'am.
spoke to Mr. Williams, and I think he said he might have a couple words to say, or I guess my question earlier was that we have the Academy is joining this contract, correct? And
Mr.
this
Williams,
is-
since you've been
Okay.
invited, would you like to approach the podium?
Sorry.
And you're here.
He's always here and appreciate it. Now, I was excited to see that the Oakleys Academy is new to this. correct?
Yes, so they've been added. That was a conversation Principal Smith and I had, that that was a success over in Walton County with a very select group of students. And so, you know, that's an opportunity we'll take and try to work with them. It is always our goal, more so, to try to attract those students into post-secondary.
Correct.
But if it can get them a start, maybe as a junior or senior, to come over to one of our programs and then finish as a post-secondary student, that would be great. So, and of course, all those students that would be eligible have to be eligible to return back to their zone school to be eligible to come to our school. So,
Well, and on a personal note, a student that I'm working with over there, this is perfect for him. So I was so excited
Yeah.
to see this being added to it. So thank you for what you're doing over
thank
there.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you, Ms. Gardner. All right, 7.24, renewal of Florida School Board's Insurance Trust Membership and Property and Casualty Insurance Program, presented by Mr. Russ Frakes, Specialist, Risk Management, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval.
Dr. White, if it's okay, could we have Mr. Frakes come up? And he's basically going to explain everything that we talked about in our last FSBIT meeting, and this has to do with property and casualty insurance. And I can tell you that it was, in the 5 years that we've been a full member, that meeting was probably one of the most challenging that we've ever had. So, but thank you to the leadership of Mr. Frakes and everybody else that's in FSBIT. I think we'll be able to put the numbers
Absolutely.
before you. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome, Mr. Frakes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. White, good morning to all the board members, Mr. Superintendent. So we're talking about the renewal of our property and casualty program for the coming year. Of course, Florida School Board's Insurance Trust, just so that everyone knows, and that those that may be watching this meeting understand, that it is an organization that's affiliated with the Florida School Boards Association, provides insurance services to 13 member districts throughout the state. So they provide insurance services, they adjust all of our claims, they go and they obtain the policies, the insurance policies that cover everything from our workers' compensation exposure to the school buses and schools' physical property, all the assets of the district and the various exposures that involves. Also provide us with loss control services, things that may involve them taking drone images of our schools and facilities for use in the case of a loss, or they may go out and inspect playgrounds, as they've done here recently. So we'll talk about some of those things in a few moments. So a lot of different services are provided by FSBIT. One of those is access to insurance markets. And as Mr. Bryan alluded to, it was very challenging this year. And as I've reported here in the past couple of quarters, I've come to you after those FSBIT meetings have occurred and kind of explained to you what's going on and the information that's coming to us as the brokers that represent the trust go out and along with FSBIT, the Executive Director Dave Stevens, try to find coverage, secure coverage each year, and running up to that to the renewal cycle. It was very challenging this year. One that's probably has not happened probably since one of the major hurricane seasons we had, I believe, in 05.
I
There
think
were
they
5
said
storms.
04.
04,
Yeah.
05, the impact was probably
Yeah.
05, I'm
Yes.
guessing. So a hardened market for sure. So that just means a period of increasing prices. So, and that's really the case for the property insurance market this year due to catastrophic claims. We saw Hurricane Ian, of course, and all in all resulted in a 56.23% increase in our property insurance for the year for the trust. So the overall increase was about 23%. So everything else, the idea being there that everything else actually decreased. It was the property, of course, that was such a big increase, and really resulted in the trust looking at some other options for what exactly is out there and available in the marketplace. Considered the treaty insurance market, and it was just cost prohibitive. Didn't offer any real savings based on what typically is direct and facultative insurance, just what you think of as your standard insurance that you might buy from State Farm or Allstate. We did elect, the trust considered and ultimately elected after an educational process to employ, to a small extent, the alternative, what's called a CWIL product, Community Weighted Industry Loss. We all had to learn about that. Spent quite a bit of time getting educated on that process. And deployed that to some degree at the upper levels to provide that upper layer of protection, because again, capacity is so constrained in the reinsurance market, it was very difficult, and it absolutely, ultimately, what we're looking at in the overall program that we'll look here in just a moment is that overall program went from $250 million to $100 million. So a 60% decrease in that. We got 40% of the amount of coverage in that in the overall program from year over year. So just because, again, the market was constrained such that it wasn't possible to secure that amount of coverage. These policies that we'll look at here again in just a second. Go ahead and pull this up here. There's a lot of information here, but just to show you, there are 40 different insurance companies are represented, and I believe if you look at those dark blue, you'll see actually those dark blue squares represent $5 million in capital that the trust elected to deploy themselves. So that's $5 million in assets of the trust that are being deployed. So that helps in a couple of ways. You're avoiding premium. Those are, in other words, rather than paying premium to an insurance carrier, it's getting the trust in the risk businesses, which owes to the financial strength of the trust. So there are some $21 million in unencumbered assets that could be distributed. So there is certainly some risk involved in that, though, because that would be exposed on a per occurrence basis. So the extent that there are multiple storms, there could be multiple $5 million exposures there.
And Mr. Frakes, just personal aside from what I'm seeing in just typical homeowners insurance, I'm scared to death of the renewal notice that if I receive a renewal, which is another issue.
That's right, correct.
That is happening in the market all across Florida.
That's right. And it, for the very same reason, because reinsurance is so scarce these days.
Right.
Those insurance companies, the retail insurance companies that we're all accustomed to dealing with whenever we're purchasing insurance for our homes, same concept applies. And this is not a Florida, not an Okaloosa problem, not a Florida problem, not even a U.S. problem. This is a global issue. When FSBIT and the brokers went out to secure this coverage, they're going to London. They're going and sitting down with these companies and having conversations, because it's very important. And as you can imagine, in London, the insurance industry is very traditional, relies heavily on face-to-face meetings, building relationships, and because of that, they were able to leverage those relationships in order to secure this coverage. Those are the kinds of things that insurance companies are faced with now. And simply the interest rates are up, so you're seeing these venture capital firms, rather than deploying and risking money in the insurance market where they've lost money for 4 of the last 5 years, they can simply put that in a very safe investment and do better. And as long as that condition exists, you're going to see that property market is going to be constrained because of those just kind of perfect storm of forces that are juxtaposed against one another right now. So hopefully we see that swing. The pendulum will swing back at some point, but just how long that's going to take remains to be seen. So the work of looking at these and renewals is not going to stop. In fact, I'm going to be serving on a very small ad hoc committee of individuals that are going to be looking at the upcoming renewals, a much longer view, to establish things like we're talking about with the $5 million being deployed, and just what options are available to the trust going forward, so that we're not so susceptible to big swings in the market like we're seeing today.
Yes, sir. And so when we talk about insuring our property, that would be all of our schools,
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
All of our schools, all of our facilities, I guess all of our capital.
That's correct.
Areas?
That's correct.
How much money is that roughly, do we think?
Well,
an idea?
Yeah, total insured value, we're looking at, well, trust-wide, we see here on this, at the top, you can see the total insured value of the full trust at over $7 billion.
$7
we've
billion
got- and $7 billion, and we've got a pretty good portion of that. So ours is right on, I don't have the total insured value of
That's
our
okay.
property.
But it'd be interesting, maybe we can get that later for us to know.
Absolutely.
And the
It's-
citizens to know the value of the property that we're trying to insure.
Yes,
Because
sir.
we all
And
know
that's-
what happened in Bay County.
That's correct.
With Hurricane
That's
Michael
correct, and we'll talk
to
about
their
that.
schools.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And we'll talk about that, and we've seen certainly the cost, because of the cost of construction, that's another factor certainly that driving the cost of insurance up, just as it is in the homeowners market, because all of the things with property, materials that needed for construction, all of those things being more scarce and more expensive. So
I didn't mean to interrupt, but-
no problem at all. Just to show you though, it's not all bad news, and we're seeing this is largely driven by the property market. What we're seeing, and I'll show you a couple of graphs, and I'll show you just over time how things have gone. This goes back to 21. And here we're looking at casualty and workers' compensation. Casualty, really, workers' compensation is casualty, but in other words, everything except with the exception of property. So general liability claims, auto liability claims, workers' compensation when one of our employees gets injured, those kinds of things. So we see here the results, and you'll see that regression line there, Dr. White, and we'll see just over time what's happened to that.
Good.
We see in 22, and then we reached an inflection point here where we're shifting that from a positive to a negative. But good thing for us. So, and those are very real dollars that are being saved, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the year because of the fact that we are working hard, and there are a lot of schools, and we'll talk about those here in a few minutes, that are really employing some of the risk management practices that we're putting into place at the school level and getting some good results. So. And we'll talk about that here in just a couple of seconds, but just to bring forward some of the other highlights that we do each year, we are recovering, we are continuing the efforts to recover, and this typically involves, in most cases, bus accidents or vehicle accidents that district-owned vehicles may become involved in where somebody else is at fault. We are pushing to recover those monies. Doesn't matter how big or how small, we're getting that money back, and you can see we recovered some $174,000 there now. We're also looking closely at our playgrounds,
Good.
working with facilities and maintenance to make sure that those are safer, and that we can also, it's got a kind of another consequence of that is that it helps to prolong the life of some of those, which are, you see how expensive those play sets are today. So we're looking closely and working with maintenance and facilities to prioritize those items that we've been uncovered. Again, FSBIT coming and inspecting those playgrounds for us. So, and Dr. White, here to your point, facilities appraisals. That's where we're looking at the properties, looking closely at the properties to ensure that they're insured to value. That's something that what's normally happens is they're just indexed by percentage. We're just going to increase those property values by a certain percentage. Well, now we've got someone from FSBIT that is certified in appraising those properties through the insurance appraisal, has a software package to do so, coming out and looking at our facilities and determining how much is needed to replace this building should something happen. So we're looking at all of those, that is very positively viewed by the insurance market as well. Whenever they're looking to know, hey, these appraisals, these buildings have been appraised recently, so we've got current information on those. That's going to be important for our district as we bring more facilities online here over the next couple of years with the construction projects that are ongoing now. So.
What about the recent purchases we've made of land, so it's not improved? Does that still come under this?
Well, no, there wouldn't be any exposure there. We do look at it. We'll still scan those, and we've done drone flights over those areas just so we can have just for informational purposes, really. But there's really until we have any proof, it's not going to be impacted in our total insured value until we have some improvement on that property.
But like these multi-purpose buildings.
Yes, that's
we're
correct.
putting in the high schools.
That's correct. When those come on service, when those come into service, they'll be reflected in our total insured value. That will increase accordingly. So I would also mention Vector Solutions. That's a video-based training software package that we have access to. We use that in our schools to train personnel, train our teachers, train paras, and everyone that the transportation folks. We get those some trainings deployed that way as well. So we see we've done pretty well there. It did drop down this current school year, but we're going to revisit that, and we're really going to make a push on that effort as we meet with our principals here over the course of the summer a couple of times. We're having a couple occasions to get with them both individually and collectively, so we look forward to that, and we're going to continue to push those numbers. It was, as we see our runoff claims, those claims that existed before our FSBIT membership in 2017, those numbers continue to drop. So one.
So, Dr. White, if I can ask Russ a
Sure,
question.
yes, sir.
So with the Vector Solution online training, this is something that FISBIT does provide for us.
That's
with
correct.
Part of being.
That's correct.
I will say that we have definitely improved since we first started
Absolutely.
this. But I do, say that on this here is, this training is so important because this is something we can, a controlled expense that we can, get right there by training our employees, safe work habits and things like that. So I'm glad to see that the numbers have increased. I mean, unfortunately, there is some school districts in our trust that have a lot,
Yeah.
have more
Some
students than we
challenges.
do, and they're lower.
Right,
So
that's right, absolutely. So, and we see it, and Mr. Mitchell will tell you, he's found use of that too. Whenever we're talking about multi-factor authentication, pushing some of those trainings out to people, it's a very efficient way to get a lot of folks trained and then to document it as well, because it's all time-stamped, recorded, and you've got access to that. So it's a useful tool, for sure. So with that, I would also like to say that we're going to be recognizing some of our schools for some excellent results. We've had several schools that have really done exemplary work in their risk management programs. So we're going to continue, we're going to encourage that. We're going to recognize those schools. Certainly we see Blue Water, there are no claims, no workers' compensation claims, no significant student accident claims. So we see several of our middle schools, we're using some metrics to determine these results. So we're going to be going out and presenting those folks with some certificates, just to recognize them, just to let them know that we appreciate what they're doing, we recognize what they're doing, and we're going to recognize them in front of their peers as well. So we're excited to do that this year, and we're going to continue to do that, I believe. I think it's going to be well received. So, any other questions at this point?
Very informative, Mr. Rudd, Mr. Frakes.
Absolutely.
And,
Yes, sir. Total
and
insured values.
Same time concerning.
Understood, absolutely. So you asked about our total insured values, Dr. White, and I do have it here. It is almost at $1 billion, so $989 million.
$989
Right,
million.
almost $1 billion.
Wow.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of property.
Yes, sir. Thank you, folks.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frakes. Excellent job. All right, so we'll move on down to 7.25. My computer will let me, we're stuck again. There we go. All right, I got it. All right, 7.25, requests for course code adoptions for the 2023-2024 school year, presented by Ms. Denise Berry and recommended by the superintendent. All right, that brings us to Section 8, Superintendent's Human Resources Recommendations. 8.1, Information, Employees on Administrative Leave. 8.2, Information, Deferred Retirement Option Program. 8.3, Employment Separations, presented by Dr. Hale, Assistant Superintendent. 8.4, Personnel Recommendations, presented by Dr. Hale, Assistant Superintendent. 8.5, Employee Transfers, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.6, Employee Suspension, presented by Dr. Hale. 8.7, Reinstatement Reimbursement of Sick Leave due to line of duty, illness, injury, medical examination, presented by Dr. Hale. And then 8.8, Leave Without Pay, presented by Dr. Hale, and all of these are recommended by the superintendent for approval.
Dr. White,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a comment on
Sure.
8.8.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons why employees would take off, and I'm looking at this list, and of course, we're at the end of the school year, but Mr. Superintendent, I was wondering if you and Dr. Hale had ever looked at any kind of, that maybe other districts are doing any kind of incentive or recognition program for employees who don't take off. Not to say that they have the right to use their leave and everything, but we're seeing some leave without compensation. And thought maybe I could request that this summer or sometime the district look into that and see if there's other districts that might have a plan or model that we could look into as an incentive for our employees.
Yes, ma'am. I'll get with Dr. Hale, and we'll start looking at that and see what other districts have, plus put our own heads together.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Benchak. All right, right now, no items on discussion agenda. It moves us to Section 10, Construction Program Owners Representatives Business. 10.1, Program Status Report by the board's representative to the construction program. And Mr. Bryant, that will be you, sir.
Thank you.
And you have something today, or?
No, sir. We
Okay.
had our last meeting. Our next meeting will be at the next
All right.
after the next workshop.
All right, sir. All right, thank you. All right, 10.2, program number 6, task order number 16, GMP modification for roofing and canopy projects at Choctahatchee High School and Lewis K-8 School, Phase 2, presented by Dr. Bill Smith, Facilities Planning, and recommended by the superintendent. And then 10.3, program number 6, task order number 19, GMP for Richburg School Building 12 renovation project, presented by Dr. Smith, Program Director Facilities, and recommended by the superintendent. Brings us to section 11. Mr. Attorney, your business, sir.
One item, Mr. Chairman, I've had a request from Attorney Todd Gray with the Gray Miller Persh Law Firm in Washington. They are the FCC specialists that the district uses. We don't use them very often, but they've asked for a adjustment to their rate. They've not adjusted their rate since 2014.
Okay.
And we provided you a copy of that request, and
All right.
we'd be asking tonight your approval of that.
All right, so we'll need a motion tonight, and we'll need action
Yes,
on
sir.
that. All right.
That's
Very
all I
good.
have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, Superintendent, you've got some out-of-state field trips, and you may have some information that you'd like to share, sir.
Thank you, Dr. White and School Board. I do have a little bit of information for you this morning. And I want to start off by saying to Mr. Butler over there, which I believe is going to be his last school board meeting.
I'm sure he'll watch us on YouTube regularly.
Every other Monday, you'll be ready to watch. But just want to thank you for the work that you've done over the many years in Okaloosa, advocating for, supporting employees in the school district. You'll be missed, but just couldn't thank you enough for all that you've done for this school district.
Thank you, Mr. Butler.
Also want to say, so today is, for many reasons, it's an exciting day, but we'll be drawing the Bel Air, the 56 Bel Air. This is a fundraiser that we did, and just want to thank all the schools who participated in this. So this has been almost a full semester of raising funds for this. Mr. Larry Klein donated this 56 Bel Air to the school district, and that's something that we can't be more grateful for. Over $75,000 was raised across the entire school district. And I also want to thank Ms. Hillary Demers, who led this entire venture from start to finish. And that's not just during the school day, that's after school, that's on the weekends. So she's done so much to get us to where we are today. Just want to say thank you for all that work. And again, at about 11 o'clock today, we'll go live, and we actually have all 75,000 tickets in this big old barrel that I'll be sticking my hand in and pulling out a ticket. We practiced last week, so it's a lot of tickets. Also, I want to thank our teachers, our staff, our administrators, and our curriculum and instruction department and others. You know, one of the things that we talk about is academic excellence, and we're in the time frame now where we're taking PM3, and that's the Progress Monitoring Assessment, the new FAST assessment. And our students, in essence, have taken all of the assessments, doing a lot of the makeup tests right now. But as you know, what it goes into, all the work that goes into preparing for this assessment, it still is a high-stakes assessment. But you go back to August to where we are today, a lot of hard work and effort has gone into preparing our students for this assessment on so many levels. So I'm just thankful. This summer, we'll have summer intensive studies once again. Just want to let the board know that that starts June 1st and runs through the 28th. At the secondary level, it's more making up courses, and at the elementary level, our students who were retained, those students are the first priority, but also students who might need a little bit of extra assistance. So that'd be June 1st through the 28th. This year, we're going to do our first almost like a year in review on the Catch the Wave. And it's going to look at all the different things that have happened over the course of this year, and I want to give just a few highlights. So first of all, I think we would all agree we're in a historic time in terms of capital improvements. You know, whether that's the multipurpose rooms, classroom additions, cafetoriums. You know, there's so much that's going on. Air conditioning systems. So there's a lot that's going on the classroom, on the construction. Also looking at purchasing new land. So Crestview 80 acres, we'll be starting the process of a new K-8 school, but also in Destin, a 4-5 school as well. Looking at the central complex renovation, we went to focus, so on the student side and on the HR and finance side. Food services served over 3 million meals to students. If that doesn't say enough, I don't know what does. Looking at 15 new air conditioning buses again, 2 new career and technical education courses, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the nursing program that partners with HCA Fort Walton Beach campus over there at the hospital. We had a CTE signing day once again. Our teachers learned some new standards this year on the ELA side, the math side, so incorporating those new standards as well as the first year of this new assessment. I am proud to say that we continued our strong relationship with the military, where we meet quarterly with Eglin and Hurlburt. And then, of course, the Purple Star School Distinction. All 37 of our schools received those recognitions. Parent meetings are something that we really wanted to focus on this school year as well. Ms. Ard and her crew did a good job of bringing back our ESC Parent Advisory Committee. And then we also met with just different groups of parents across the school district to say, what is your perspective on how things are going? You know, the good as well as the areas where we can improve. We started an anti-vaping campaign this year. We continued our emphasis on mental health counselors, increasing mental health counselors as well as our CDAC counselors as well. So there's a number of things that have happened this year. We'll put that out in the Catch the Wave year in review. So I'm excited about that. Ms. Card and Ms. Hillary Demers will be putting that together for us. So stay tuned for that. I do want to thank the school board for all the graduations that you've gone to and the ones that are still to come. We still have Choctaw, Niceville, Fort Walton, and Crestview coming this week, and I know that's an exciting time. So I just want to thank the school board for this school year. You think about all that has occurred, and I've said this before, you all are an active board, not only here on Mondays, but throughout the week, getting out to schools and going to all the different events and supporting what happens here at Okaloosa Schools, and I couldn't thank each of you enough. And that's all I have, Dr. White.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. All right, colleagues, that moves us down to school board members' announcements and requests for information. And Ms. Gardner, I'll start with you, ma'am, if you'd like to share some things tonight.
Thank you.
Today.
And Mr. Chambers covered quite a bit of mine. A lot of exciting things going on right now, especially the drawing that's going to take place at 11 o'clock. And I believe Mr. Klein, he has been doing this for 10, 12, 15,
Long time,
a
yeah.
long time.
Lot of
And the money
money.
that he has donated, the cars and the money that we have gained from this, it's been quite a bit, and we appreciate Mr. Klein and for doing this throughout the years, and also for the community. I know I've bought a lot of tickets, and I did walk by there to see how I might look in that car. And
No, I
I
got
think
some
I would be pretty fine. I'll take you in a ride if I get.
Well, Ms. Gardner, when I win it, you can take a picture there. I'll let you take a picture in front of us.
No, let's let Mr. Bryant doesn't even win.
No. So, what, 2.5 hours, we will be finding out the winner.
No pressure, Mr. Chambers.
Yeah.
You got some board members waiting.
Exactly. And when I got out of my car this morning, I looked and I saw Mr. Butler whistling, and I didn't realize today was your last day, and I kind of called out and said, hey, were you whistling? And he was saying yes, but he was whistling as he was walking into work today. But I just want to thank you for everything you've done throughout the years. I've known you for many years. We've worked together in different capacities, and sometimes we may not always agree, but what we were always able to do is to come together, and you were so supportive of your staff, and we came to an agreement, and it was always what was best for the students and the children. And I just want you to take with you that when Mr. Chambers announced in the Teacher of the Year banquet that you were retiring, this is an entire conference center packed with our staff, and you received a standing ovation. And that was for just truly respect for what you have done over all these years. And so thank you. And I'm sure we may meet in our meeting place that our doctor's appointment is I might clear that up. And we have the same doctor. Sorry. That kind of went wrong. But we have the same doctor, and it seems like we're always at the same meeting, same time. So let's just go ahead and clear that. Let's clear that up. clear that up. But thank you, and great day for you. And also, I heard it was Jordan's birthday, so happy birthday, Jordan. Also, a lot of great things going on. And as you said, Mr. Chambers, we've been having these graduations, and I just, to this day, as many as I have participated in, when you walk in and see these students with their caps and gowns, no matter what age they are, and they come in on the graduation march, it's just such a proud moment. And I so appreciate that the schools are sending us invitations, and that we get to be a part of that. I truly do feel honored, and thank our teachers and all of our employees that have worked hard, no matter what your role was in Okaloosa County, to get the students to the point that they are today. And even though we're finishing up this week and school's winding up, I know Mr. Chambers will be meeting with you and Ms. Perry next week to look at the 23-24 budget and capital outlay. So it doesn't end with any of us up here in the district office. I see Sheila smiling right now. It's a busy time for everybody, but we'll be rolling right into that, and I do look forward to planning out 23 and 24. So thank you, and again, Mr. Butler, you enjoy your next chapter.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Ms. Evancheck?
Yes. Well, I know you board members know I wouldn't be one to gloat, right? Never done it. However, I'm sitting here today and my school has already graduated. So what a nice feeling, and you guys still have the week. And fortunately, we had little showers right before the students took the field Friday night, but then the clouds held off all the way through. So I'm wishing all of you good weather. That's the biggest thing we want around here. We want to do it the first night, but I do want to congratulate Principal Mike Martello and his staff, his administration. Takes a lot of people to put on a nice graduation, as we all know. And they did a terrific job, and we finished that Friday night, and it was a wonderful time all the way to the fireworks. So it was really good. Also, last week they had their senior awards, and I'm not going to mention too much, but I just want to mention that I was thrilled to hear the surprise that the superintendent's first scholarship recipient is a Baker student. Whitney Walker is a star, and I know that she's going to be visiting us in a board meeting in June, so I'll save all the hoopla for her, but very, very proud school board member here hearing that, so that's exciting. Mr. Butler, we go way back, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. You go farther back than I do, but no. No, we were teachers. You were across the street at Pryor. I was over there at the Big Green, and we first met each other, and so we were in the trenches together and got to know you. But I know it's been said, but thank you for your dedication. You're in a hot seat, and it's hard to make everybody happy in your position. But you've handled it with a lot of class and a lot of professionalism. And, it's one of those things when you have individuals in positions like someone like you don't even think about it because we know it's going to be handled. And so it's quite a thing to let you go. But everybody has a season, and now it's a new season for you. And I want to congratulate you on a long career, both as an educator in the classroom and also in your position with the OCEA and so forth. So thank you and enjoy. Yep. I want to thank all the teachers, administrators, and staff for a great school year. It's had a lot of challenges, as always, but they've done a great job, and it's been exciting. Couple of just quick announcements. Want to congratulate a young lady named Cadence Fredrickson out of Baker. She just did third place in the Miss Florida Teen Pageant. So we're very happy that she represented us. Also over at Baker, starting June 15th and from 4 to 7 in the gym, they're doing free physicals for any student going to be participating in a sport next year. So make sure that you get that done. And at Baker, they're doing a thing called Backpack Buddies with food. Are we doing a food program this summer?
Our normal
the
food
normal-
services program.
Okay, so that, I'm sure that's on our website so that parents know that they can do that. And so, and that's pretty much all I have. Like I said, Good luck with graduation, you guys. I hope it all comes off. So,
I've already been watching the weather, and Fort Walton Beach High School looks good for Thursday night. I don't know about tomorrow night or Wednesday,
Wednesday,
but
yeah.
Thursday night's looking
well, you
good.
don't know because
Well, I've
The
sat through
showers.
both.
it, you know, you
Sunny
get
and
the
rain.
showers and it's, I thought we were gonna have to postpone Baker's, but when I got there, it just suddenly just,
Oh,
mean, we had our-
Mr. Palmer holds the record for rained out graduations.
Well, I think Fort Walton
That's
Beach High
Niceville.
School- As long as we keep our lights on at Fort Walton Beach High School, we'll be fine also.
oh, yeah, the
That
lights,
was
yeah,
the night
yeah.
The lights went out at,
In Fort Walton.
Well,
It's just one
Thanks,
more
Ms.
thing.
Banjo. Thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Dr. White and Mr. Butler. I would like to also extend my appreciation to you. I know when I first got elected to the board, you were probably wondering, oh my gosh, we got a non-educator on here, and what's he going to be like? But I will tell you that I appreciate the fact that you welcomed me into the district and you gave me an opportunity to serve. And I know we've had some good conversations over the years, and I know you're going to enjoy your retirement, but I do appreciate all that you do. You are definitely somebody who I look up to and appreciate everything that you've done for the people that you represent, and it's going to be nice to see you being able to enjoy your retirement. And as Ms. Ivanchek likes to talk about Baker, we do have a Baker graduate who's going to your alma mater, so we're really excited about that. So maybe you'll get a chance to watch some football, watch him play.
Yep. Yep.
So, but I just want to say thank you for all that you have done. And so with that, Ms. Ivanchek, too, we were talking about graduations. So I do have 2/3 of mine completed, of Richburg
I
and
know.
Laurel Hill.
Right.
So they were all inside, so we were fortunate
Yep.
about that. I do want to extend to Dr. Chapman and his team at Richburg and Mr. Chambers how much I appreciate the fact that this year they have really taken the fast track program and really brought it to the forefront, and getting those students involved in the school. I know he made some big changes over the summer last year by bringing those students up into the front of the school instead of being back in the part of the school that most of us would never venture to. But having those students up there has really made a big difference for those students, and it was evident on Friday when they had a reception/graduation for, I think it was like 9 students. But to see their faces, to see the smile that they have achieved graduating, even though they don't get the opportunity to go to the schools that they were a part of, but we did, that Dr. Chapman and his team made it all about them, and to see the parents, to see the guardians, all those who were involved, just to see the smiles on the faces was incredible, and I'm glad that they did that for them, so that was really appreciative. And also looking forward, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening over the summer, and let me pull it up real quick, but we do have a CTE camp once again at Pryor, Crestview, I believe Fort Walton Beach.
Fort Walton, Biomed.
And yes, and Pryor, I think was the other one. Did I say Pryor once already?
Right.
Yeah. So, Shoal River was the other. So if you look on the district website, Facebook page, all of that information's out there. It's a great opportunity to send your kids off to a pretty cool camp, in my opinion. There's everything for everybody if they want to get involved. And this is for inspiring 6th graders, I believe. So those students who are going from the 5th grade into the 6th grade will be able to participate in this. And then finally, this is the most exciting time of the year for all of us, and in being able to enjoy the graduations. And every graduation, every school does something different, and I do appreciate the fireworks at Baker. That just culminates the whole
Their
thing.
school board member is very fond of fireworks.
Yes, and but it just shows that on Friday or on Thursday night when we're at Crestview High School and that last student walks off, at least for the schools that are part of the Okaloosa County School District, that will be the finality of this school year, and that really says a lot for everything that we've done this school year, and appreciate everybody who has made it happen to get that last student off the stage on Thursday night, and it will be exciting once that happens. So, And with that, Mr. Chair, I have nothing
All right,
else.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryant, and I'll have some remarks tonight, and with that, we'll move to 14.1, members of the public desiring to address the school board at the end there, and then we go to adjournment. So unless there's anything else from staff or from the associations,
Did Mr. Butler want to make any closing comments?
all right. So with that, then we'll go ahead and conclude this meeting.